Okay, let me tell you what I want to teach at the seminar. I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. We're going to follow my philosophy of PBE. P, we're going to start with how are we going to make a profit? Because the lights cost money, the speakers cost money, the lanyards cost money, the hotel costs money, the stage costs money, the video person costs money. Those are all expenses. So we got to figure out how we're going to profit first.
All right, all right. What's up, everyone? So today on our The Sahil show, we have a really special guest who has been recognized as one of the most requested in-demand business and motivational keynote speakers and business marketing consultants in the world. He has featured on the hit ABC TV show Secret Millionaire and was twice named College Speaker of the Year. He has delivered over 2,000 plus presentations for corporations, associations, business groups, colleges, universities, and youth organizations worldwide. It's a pleasure to have him on our show today. So, without any further ado, let's welcome James Malinchak to our show today. Hey.
Sahil, my man, what's happening?
All great, man. Thank you so much, James, for giving your time and coming on our show. It's a pleasure to have you again.
Absolutely, brother. Good to see you again.
Same here, same here. It was great. I made it to that Dallas event and we met and this started, so I feel good about it. I have heard a lot about you, man, from so many people over there. Parthiv Shah was there at that time, and he talked high
Yeah.
about you and all. I know he have been your client. So for people who are living under the rock, don't know about you yet, can you throw some light on like how did James become world best big money speaker?
Well, I was born in a van down by the river. No.
That's
That's what every speaker says. I was born under a bridge.
right.
I grew up in a really tiny. First of all, thank you for having me. I don't take this time lightly. I lost my sister years ago to a brain tumor, and it taught me an important, valuable lesson about life. You know, you can always make more money, you can always get more customers or clients, but you can't get more time. And I recognized the value of that when she passed away. So the fact that you're giving me some time to maybe help some of the amazing people that you're serving, I don't take that lightly. I appreciate it. And I promise anyone watching or listening that we're going to fill this with some value that will help to transform your life. So I just want to say that first. So thanks for
Yeah,
having me, buddy. Appreciate it.
it's again
Um,
an honor.
I grew up in a very small town on the East Coast, outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, about 6,000 people. We didn't have much growing up. Dad was a railroad conductor working on the trains and hauling scrap and coal, and mom was a lunch mother serving lunches to us kids at school. But I had big dreams, even though I was growing up in this small town. And one of those big ones early was to play college basketball. So I thought that was my way out of the town. And so, long story short, I worked during the summers, not hard. I worked right. There's a big difference. People say don't work harder, work smarter. Total baloney. You don't work harder, you don't work smarter, you work right. You work right at what you're doing. If you can work hard all you want, you can think you're working smart because you're working long hours, but if you're not doing things the right way, working right, then your skills won't develop. So I focused on working right. Long story short, God, I think it was 50 some scholarship offers. Took a basketball scholarship out of high school to the University of Cincinnati. And then my coach got relieved of his duties. That's a nice way of saying he got fired. And so I transferred, played ball, and went to school and graduated at the University of Hawaii and moved to Los Angeles after. What happened was I wanted to play pro basketball, but I caught a pass in an exhibition game, twisted my knee, ripped my knee apart, and I was done. So after graduation, I moved to Los Angeles, started my career as a financial advisor, aka stockbroker. I had an office on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. I used to manage the investments of entertainers and pro athletes. And then I ended up selling that out. I won some awards at a young age, built a business really fast at a young age, got asked to do a talk to teach people how I built my business real fast. And I'm like, well, I don't talk. And they said, well, we just want you to talk to our people for like 45 minutes. I said, I don't talk. I'm a stockbroker. I'm a financial advisor. They said, and we'll pay you $5,000. I said, I talk. I talk.
That's all you do. That's all I do every day.
Hey, mama didn't raise no fool. Someone wants to pay you to talk. You're already talking. And long story short, I thought I was terrible. I thought on a scale of 1 to 10, I was like a -2. The guy came up to me and said, man, that was really great. And I'm thinking, what were you watching? And he said something, Sahil, that changed my life. He said, I don't care about mechanics and all that. The information that came out of your mouth helped our people. I'd like to book you for 2 more talks, and can I pay you the same $5,000 each talk? I was like, what? And so I have a friend who is a former NFL most valuable player. He's a quarterback for the Washington Redskins, a guy named Joe Theismann. And Joe was speaking a lot, and he started to explain the speaking industry and that they actually pay people to talk, which I had no clue about. And I said, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do this and figure it out. So I sold my stake in my little company to my partners, and I said, I'm going to go speak. And now here we are, over 2,000 some talks later.
That's an insane story, man. That's so inspiring.
Sometimes in life you go down paths that you don't understand why, or paths are presented to you and you're like, well, what? This is not what I planned, right? But sometimes you go down a path that turns out to be much, much better for you that you don't see when you're first presented with it.
Wow, exactly. That's right. And which year was it? How long was it ago when this started, the speaking thing?
Oh my gosh, I hate to tell you because now you're going to think I'm like an old dude, but I did start when I was in my early 20s. So I have been speaking now for, 26 years, 27 years. Yeah, I started really early in my early 20s. As soon as I was like, wait, I get to help people. I get to hopefully make a difference in their lives, give them something that could enrich their personal life, their business, their finances, and you're going to pay me for that? That's great. I'm going to do this. And so, yeah, I just jumped into it, buddy. I put the throttle down. I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out.
And you did it, man. You did it so well. You have helped so many other people.
I'm very blessed. I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed. I want to think about this, buddy. If I didn't make that decision when that path was presented 26 some years ago, we wouldn't have met each other.
Right. So right.
We wouldn't be on here now, hopefully impacting some of your amazing people.
Right. So right. And what was the point when you started this bigmoneyspeaker.com? Like you grew it to the world's #1 speaker training platform, but how was it born?
Man, again, all of a sudden, sometimes a path comes and gets placed in front of you, right? Mm-hmm. And I never planned on teaching other people how to do this. I was just a guy out there who was hustling. I figured it out. I was doing, at my height, my prime, I was doing 150 locations a year, not talks, locations. So example, I could go to Orlando, Florida, speak for Valencia Community College. They have 6 campuses. I go one location, Orlando, speak 6 times, get 6 checks, 6 payments. So one location. So in my heyday, I was doing 150 locations. Sometimes I would do 4, 5, 6 talks. I think my best year was about 157 locations, which means I came home with about 250 checks, maybe. So when people say, well, I did X number of times, I'm like, yeah, how many times did you get paid?
Right.
I mean, a lot of people talk, but they don't get paid, right? So anyway, people started, to answer your question, people started to find out about me, and they're like, how are you doing this? I have never heard of you before. You're not famous. You didn't fall out of an airplane and live. You didn't have a movie made about your life. You don't have a New York Times best-selling book. You don't have a funnel. You don't have nothing. And you're making all this money, helping all these people, booking all these talks. How the heck do you do that? And so this comes full circle where you and I met. So I actually was going to go to a conference in Dallas. This was 20 years ago. And I get a fax. A lot of people listening have no idea what a fax is.
Right.
I got a fax from a guy named Dan Kennedy. Right? That's where you and I met when Russell Brunson did the Magnetic Marketing Conference. Right. And it said, hey, if you're coming to, I don't know how he got my contact information, but the fax said, hey, if you're coming to Dallas for this speaker event, which I think was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to be hosting on Thursday some private one-on-one consultings where I will consult with you for an hour. And then everyone who does the consulting, we're doing it in my suite, my hospitality suite, will then do a 3-hour mastermind after. And it was $1,500. I was like, this guy's nuts. Who is this guy charging $1,500? Right? And I'm not kidding you. So I said, you know what? Okay, but I'm going to do it. I heard about this marketing guy a little bit, but $1,500? No, actually, it was a 30-minute consultation. And then we did the 3-hour. Because what I found out is he had like 15 people booked, right? Every half hour. And I'm like, who is this guy who thinks he could charge $1,500 for 30 minutes? That was my limited mindset, right? And so I'm not kidding you. I literally signed up knowing that I was going to get a refund after, because there was a 30-day refund. Because I'm like, this guy's he's a charlatan. You know, $1,500 for 30 minutes. This guy's nuts, right? So we get into I'm in Dan's suite. We're in a 30-minute little consult. And he told everybody, bring one problem you have with your business. So my problem, I said, look, I'm doing all these talks, and I've got all these people who are asking me, how do you do this? And they're calling me an email, and I'm giving them my phone number, my email, and I'm trying to help them, but I have no free time because I'm so busy flying to do all these talks. He said two things. First thing, he said, well, put together a seminar. I'm like, what's a seminar? I didn't even know what a seminar was. He said, put together like a weekend seminar and market it to all those 80, 90 people and charge something for it. And then when they come, teach them everything you know. And those, I'll never forget this. Here's the second thing. He said, and those who don't sign up, change your phone number, change your email, because they're all leeches just sucking you dry. You know Dan, so that's Dan's personality, right?
Right.
And I'm like, well, what should I charge like for this? $10 or something? And he didn't know if I was naive or if I was joking. And he quickly figured out I didn't know what I was talking about. And he goes, $10? Are you crazy? You should charge $1,000 minimum. I'm like, what? Are you nuts? $1,000? What? I don't even know what I'm doing.
And that was 20 years ago.
That was probably 20 years ago, 21 years ago.
No social media at that time even.
No social media. So long story short, I didn't do anything for about 8 months. And by the way, I did not request a refund because everything he said in that half hour and in the 3-hour mastermind, it made all sense to me. I'm like, wow, this guy's smart. Like this, I never heard this stuff before, right? So I was like, this was definitely worth $1,500, even though I didn't do anything with it. So about 8 or 10 months later, I said, you know what? I think I'm going to sit down and write a sales letter. We didn't have websites big back then.
Right.
You used to have to mail stuff. And I'm going to prove to that guy, that Kennedy dude, that he's a bunch of crap and this doesn't work. I'm not kidding. That was the reason I did it, to prove to him that it wasn't going to work. So I did it, charged $1,000, and I had 12 people sign up who never heard of me before. And I was like, what? What? And I did. And Sahil, I didn't even know how to teach. I taught in a T-shirt and shorts. And I had no manual. I just taught them for 3 days, everything I did. I just said, and then I do this, and then I do that. And that 12-person one, they loved it because it was great content. That's what I always tell folks. You don't have to be an amazing presenter or orator, but as long as you know what you're talking about, people will love you, will respect you, and they'll tell others about you. And so then I did another one, 12 more people showed up, did another one, 15 showed up, did another one, 25 showed up. Now this is on the side, and I'm making $1,000 a person. So here I'm making $25,000 if I take $5,000 off for the hotel and everything. I just made $20,000 as a side hustle. And I was like, what? This is crazy. And the people were getting results. So then I said, you know what? I need to put the throttle down. What if I tried to do this? So I did those little ones for about 2.5, 3 years. And then I learned market, and I went back. I bought everything that Dan had, right? Because that's what got me started.
Right.
You know, and man, we just grew it to what became legendary. I hate to even say that, sounds egotistical, but We were doing 4 of those a year, and we were averaging 700 to 1,000 people at each one. People came from 100 different countries. Because then people started finding out about me. They would promote me to their list and their customers. And man, I'm so blessed. I helped so many people. And then a lot of the big name people started finding out about me, and they started attending. Then I started getting hired. Like, hey, could you coach me? Some of these celebrity speaker, and I don't know how to coach. And I said, okay, I'll charge you $500 a month. I just made it up, right? And then it just went up, and now the fees are $25,000, $75,000, and $150,000.
Awesome. That's insane. And all this happened just in efforts to prove someone wrong.
I did, yeah.
This grew to the next level, man.
Probably not the best reason to start a business.
I can relate. I remember first coach I hired, he said, like, do a launch, a $297 30-day program. I was like, it's not going to work out and all. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it just because so that I can prove him it's not going to work out. And I enrolled like 27 people in that 297. I was like, I made $8,000, $9,000, $10,000.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Kind of makes you want to do it a second time and a third time,
Exactly. I think it's a great lesson for someone who is not believing in something and all. Is like, okay, do it to prove them wrong, and you will get something built out, which can be life-changing.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful. I've done over, I think, 1,000 of those now over the years. 1,000 of those trainings. And I mean, I've done 2,000 one-on-one consultations with people. As you mentioned, Parthiv Shah, I mean, he's a client for 4 years. I've met incredible. I'll tell you another amazing thing. Why I was at that event was because Russell Brunson, who co-founder of ClickFunnels, bought Magnetic Marketing, Dan Kennedy's company, brought it back. That was the first magnetic marketing event. So things happen for a reason, right?
Right.
I was in, that event was May, right? I think it was May. March, I go to the UFC fights here in Florida, down in Miami, Florida, the Ultimate Fighting Champion, mixed martial arts. And I'm literally, there's 20,000 people there. And I'm walking to my seat. I get to my seat. I'm on the floor. I'm about 8 rows from the octagon cage. I always sit on the floor because I'm a big mixed martial arts guy. And I love the fights. And I felt somebody grab my shoulder. I turn around, and it's Russell Brunson. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? And so we hug, and he's like, man, I always wanted to come to a UFC fight. My wife, and Colette was with it. My wife and I were going on a cruise. So we saw the fights were here. So we thought we'd come to the fights before we jumped on the cruise down here to go off. I'm like, no way, that's crazy. I hadn't seen Russell for, I don't know, 6-7 years. Russell and I originally met in 2006, 2005 in a Dan Kennedy, Bill Glazer mastermind. We were one of the 22 people in that mastermind. So I messaged Russell. I texted him after because I didn't know he bought Dan Kennedy's company, and I saw he had magnetic marketing that he was bringing the conference. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, thank you for doing this, because he knew how Dan impacted me. I knew how Dan impacted him. And I was like, man, thanks so much for bringing back this event, because it's real information. Dan is no joke, that sort of thing. And then next thing you know, it's like, okay, man, you want to do, here's the person running it. We can't have you speak because we're already booked, but could you do a round table? And I went down. I said, absolutely, man, because I'm going to come to the conference because I love all Dan's stuff and I love what you're doing with Dan. And so I come down there, I meet you, you sit at my round table. Here we are on the podcast. Now check this out. Now, because I was there, they're bringing out the No BS direct marketing book for non-direct marketers.
Right.
Darcy, who runs all that now, I've known Darcy for over 20 years through all the Dan stuff and other stuff. And she's like, hey, is there any way that we can have you fly to Boise on this date and be one of the 21 speakers to help launch the book? So I said, yeah, absolutely. It worked out. I flew to Boise. Russell finds out I'm coming in. He interviews me on his podcast to promote me out. It's crazy how things come full circle, man, when you're putting good stuff out.
Yeah, that's insane, man. I remember watching those stories that what you were talking about, meeting Russell and all that. I've been following you. I have an interesting question here. So for people who want to get into this big networks or meeting big sharks, like I know you work with, like, or you have coached them, Les Brown, I saw a video on that testimonial, and then I saw Jack Canfield testimonial on that. What's your advice for someone to get into this big networks? And
so the very first thing is you have to have something that they don't have. You got to be able to teach them something that they don't know. What I always say is you have to fill a void for people, right? If you can, I don't care who you are, I don't care how famous someone is. If you can provide them with some sort of value that will help them, that they would like help with, that they don't know how to figure out, then it doesn't, now all of a sudden you're above them in their mind. Because Sahil's got something that I don't know, like literally you raise automatically above them in your mind. That happens for me when I get approached by folks now, at this stage of my life. They could be somebody brand new, but they're like, oh, wait a minute. You know that? Yeah, I want help with that. And now all of a sudden I'm looking up to them because they can help me with something. So, for me, my little hook that I started with was getting paid in this space, was getting paid to speak. Russell even said it on the podcast, Marketing Secrets, that's coming out in a couple of months. He said, Jay's been a friend for a long time. I always say he's one of the best speakers I've ever seen, one of the best closers I've ever seen. But James does something that we're not used to in this world. He knows how to get paid to speak where everybody else speaks and sells. But he even said it on there. So when I was approaching these folks, like Jack Canfield, I've helped Jack for 15 some years now.
Wow.
My angle was, hey, have you ever thought about getting paid to speak for colleges and universities? Because there's huge budgets there that most people don't even know are there to pay people to speak. And they were like, what? They thought there was like no money. And I'm like, no, like at the time I was doing 7 figures a year as a fee paid speaker and nobody ever heard of me. Right. And I said, I know where all the budgets are. I would be happy to like share that with you. And maybe your team can book you to speak in these untapped markets that nobody knows about. And that's all it took. And everybody was like, absolutely. Let's go. What's your fee? What's your coaching fee? So the key, I really believe, is first of all, you always lead with a napkin, never a bib. Lead with a napkin. How can I serve them? Never a bib. How can I take from them and have them serve me? Right? So
I love it.
And then number 2 is you got to have like a little angle. Like you got to fill a void. Like what can you give to them that they don't already have? And I don't know what that is for each person, but that's what for yourself, like who wants to get in. But that's what you got to figure out. For me, I figured out who had all the budgets for the colleges and universities, and then I was actually named College Speaker of the Year twice, not because I was a great speaker, but because I was booking so many more talks because I figured out all the money, the budgets, and who had them and who booked for speakers. So that was my little hook and angle to start approaching these so-called famous people with. And it was funny. Like as soon as I started teaching them, they became like they were like in kindergarten and I was master's degree because they didn't know any of this.
Right.
So all of a sudden that whole, wow, look who this is, Jack Canfield thing went out the window. It didn't matter to me because I knew what I was teaching.
True. That's so right. That's so deep, man. It opens up the different mind gates for people when you can raise up your level. I really love it. That's good. And when you work with these top speakers and entrepreneurs and all, what is a common mistake that you see them making and then you fix them?
Yeah. And it's not just top speakers. It's anybody at any level. Is they think it's all about the message. If I just have a good story, if I just have a good message, then people will book me and pay me to speak or have me speak at their event. No, they won't. No, they won't. So the number one mistake in all marketing is creating a product or service first, in the case of speaking, a talk first, a message first, and then trying to find people to buy it. No. First, you must find out what the market wants. So like if you're going to go after colleges and universities versus if you're going to go after real estate events where you're going to speak and sell, those are different wants and needs. Right. Versus if you're going to speak to little kids groups, they have different topics they want for those kids versus what a real estate audience or a person putting a real estate event on will want for their audience. So if you create a message first and then try to push it on a market and they don't want it, well, you're going to be swimming upstream. But don't you know that that is the number one mistake in all business? Let's create this widget and then let's hopefully find some people who want to buy it. No, what I teach is market, message, money. You start with the market. Which market do you want to go after? I want to go after real estate investors. You have a great podcast, right? Let's say you put a course out and you want to teach podcasters and speak at podcaster events. Well, that topic is going to be different than if you were going to talk to kids about how to go for their dreams. So if you put a talk together about how to go for your dreams and you try to push that on people who are going to have podcasters coming who are trying to grow their business, they're going to go, well, we don't do go for your dreams talks. We're teaching podcasters techniques and strategies. So you see, if you start with the message, you're going to go to the market with the wrong message. But you start with the market first. Okay, I want to go after podcasters, podcaster events to teach them how to grow a podcast. Great, you got the market. Now, what's the right message that they'll want? So then you start researching and say, well, what's already being taught at these events? How can I create something different so I don't look like all of the other people who have the same message, right? And then the third one is, okay, now the money. Like people are all scared to talk about money in business, right? So it's market, message, money. How are we going to get paid now? Are you going to do a 1 hour talk that you get a fee for? Can you then do a 3 hour, half a day presentation you can get a fee for? Can you do a full day, 5 hour talk that you get a fee for? Can you speak and offer? Can you run coaching programs on the back end? Can you create a course? Right? Did you write a book? And can you get those folks to the events to buy a book for every one of the 1,000 people coming and stick a book in all the registration bags? So, I mean, there's like 7 or 8 ways to get paid right there. But people like don't figure out the money. And I'm like, that's crazy because you're running a business. So it's market first. That's the mistake. They start with a message rather than a market.
All right, that's so amazing. And I know you referred to this term, like, what's the fastest way to cash? I really love that thing. Can you dive more deep into that? How do you come up with this, and like, what's your mindset behind it?
Yeah, so when I used to have folks who would come to my house in Las Vegas. I live in Las Vegas in South Florida, and they would do in person. Now we just do all the consultings during Zoom. Ever since COVID, it's actually better for folks because we can record it. Sometimes I'm creating scripts and things, and now we got to record it. Right. But there was a time where they used to come to my house, and I created this sign to help try to keep everybody focused. And I had this very nicely designed sign put behind my desk. So as you were sitting there looking at me, you kept seeing this sign. And the sign said, your most important business question. What's the fastest way to the cash? So, and here's why I did it. Everybody used to come into my house and would talk to me about the thing, the message, the product, the widget. I'm like, time out. None of that matters. How are you going to make money with this? What's the fastest way to the cash? Because you have bills coming due, you have expenses, you have a team to pay. We need to figure out how to take what it is you want to do in your business and make money. Get to the cash. Because at the end of the day, you can't deposit. Like people always talk about how many likes they have in social media. And I'm like, you can't deposit likes into a bank account. Right. You can't send likes to your mortgage company to pay your mortgage bill. You got to send cash. So the reason I came up with that was to keep everybody focused that when we create, we're going to create from a standpoint of how are you going to profit from this? It's like I've built a lot of events for people, seminars, like who've come to my house, and I drew it all up, and here's how we're going to do it. Here are the speakers we're going to get. And everybody wants to start off, okay, let me tell you what I want to teach at the seminar. I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. We're going to follow my philosophy of PBE. P, we're going to start with how are we going to make a profit? Because the lights cost money, the speakers cost money, the lanyards cost money, the hotel costs money, the stage costs money, the video person costs money. Those are all expenses. So we got to figure out how we're going to profit first. Right. Okay. So PBE, profit, and then just butts in seats. B, how are we going to get people to show up? And then E, how are we going to create an experience that they love and they rave about and want to tell everybody about? But my point for that is the first thing we would start with is profit, money.
Right.
So, and I would tell them, I said, look at this sign. What's the fastest way to the cash? Because look, when I used to run my events, I would be 100,000, 120, 150,000 in debt before we started the event because of paying everything. The speakers, I mean, they're not free. Here, I'll give you an example, and I can't tell you who, but you talk about how do you get in with some of these people you might want to get in with, right? The notables.
Right.
You try to help them with something that they don't know how to do. Well, I have a friend that is putting on an event and said, man, I would love to have Michael Jordan be at the event. And I said, are you serious? He goes, no, I just love Michael, and he's like the epitome of that. I said, I can't promise this, but there's an opportunity where I might be able to make that happen. Because I used to do an event for 3 or 4 years in Las Vegas with Michael, and I know his business partner and been in touch with his business partner for the last 12 years. And I've been with Michael several times. And I said, I can't guarantee because I don't know, guy makes $400 million a year just from the Jordan brand alone. I don't even know if he would do an event. But I said, here's what it would take. And I worked with him to put a proposal together to where it's over $1 million that they would pay for Michael. And he's excited. He wants it there. I don't know if it will happen. But my point is that's one way I'm in with this famous person that you would know is I said, I think I might be able to fill a hole for you. I'm serving. Like, I think I might be able to help you with that. I can't guarantee it, but I can at least get it in front of them because I know them, right?
True.
So you always want to be thinking about how do you get in with people? How do you serve people, right? And what was the first thing I said to him? I said, well, how much are you willing to pay? Profit. Fastest way to the cake. The only way you're going to get him is if you pay 7 figures. This ain't, I love Tony Robbins and that, but this ain't Tony Robbins. This guy is like one of the world's largest brands.
Right.
He doesn't come cheap.
Right. That's awesome, man. How you think in that perspective. Love it. And if you a follow-up question coming. So if you have to, let's say, start over everything again, whether it's coaching, whether it's speaking gig and all, how would you do it to take to your first, let's say, 7 figures? For our audience, it would be quite helpful. Yeah.
I would change where I fish. Okay. Most people fish in the wrong ponds. Most people are fishing in swimming pools, hoping that fish jump in and they catch the fish. Okay. So the fastest way I built it and the way I would do it today is I'd say, who already has my ideal customer? Who already owns the pond with the fish? Right. I'm going to make a deal with them. I don't care if I got to pay them 90%. I'm going to make a deal with them for them to promote me to their fish. And then I'll make the money back on the back end after. And that's exactly how I built my seminar from 25 people, 15 people, 700, 800 people. I went around, Russell. Hey, Russell, man, my ticket is $2,500. If you will promote me to your folks, I will give you $2,000 of the $2,500 registration fee. Most people give like 10%, 20%. I'm like, that's not going to make somebody open up their list to you, their pond of fish. Right. So I just went. I said, simple math. You get 10 people who sign up at $2,000. You make 20,000. You get 100 people. You make $200,000 for sending out some emails.
Right.
Okay. So I went and I fished in everybody else's pond because I cut amazing deals. Then what I did was this, and I said, oh, by the way, if they come to my event and they buy anything on the back end, like coaching, et cetera, I'm going to tag them all to you, and I'm going to pay you a 10% ongoing commission on the back end every year for the life of the customer for as long as they stay with me. So like if you sent someone, they came to our event, and let's say they bought a $100,000 coaching program. First, you're getting $2,000 on the ticket for them signing up. Now, if they bought a $100,000 coaching program, you're getting $10,000 every year for doing nothing as long as they stay with us. I've had clients that have been with us 15, 16 years that came originally from the old Dan Kennedy group. So I have longevity. I've got a lot of clients that stay with. So I've got people that still get paid because they were the folks who opened up their pond to us with their fish. So I went and cut all these kind of deals. That's what I would do today. And nobody talks about that. They tell you, go do a tripwire for $7 and get them into the 47 and spend $500,000 on Facebook ads. I'm like, no, I'd go find 50, 20, 50, 100 people who already have my type of customer in their pond. I'd go cut them amazing deals, right? People are scared to like pay great commissions for the referrals. I'm like, why? I love paying commissions because, you know, how else would I find it? I'd have to pay it anyway for Instagram ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads.
Right.
I'd rather go pay them. So
that's a great perspective. You are making a win-win situation for both, and then making it happen. That's amazing.
Yes,
I love that.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Cool, man. James, you have provided so much value and so many gold nuggets you have dropped. I know you are short on time. You have another interview. Just where can listeners find more about you online? And if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best platform?
Thank you, buddy. It is real simple. My website, by the way, I want to say this. The reason my logo, Big Money Speaker, the website is www.bigmoneyspeaker.com. The reason it's a logo, and this is an important tip for everyone, is I always say in business, especially in speaking, you have two sides to the coin. That's the reason a coin is my logo. Right. I say on the one side, you have what you do to help people, to change their lives, to make the world better, to transform souls and spirits, right? The problem is we think and we get led to believe if that's all we do, that's all we need to do to run a business. And I say nothing could be further from the truth. There's a flip side to the coin. And the flip side to the coin is we're running a business. You got to know how to prospect, qualify. You got to know how to upsell, downsell, cross-sell, cut affiliate deals. You know, the things like we've been kind of talking about, that has nothing to do with the message. See, if most people get caught up like it's just about the message or about the product or the widget or wanting to serve the world. I'm not saying that's not important. There's something equally important though, and that's the flip side of the coin. That's why a Big Money Speaker logo is a coin, to remind everybody there's two sides to this coin in any business, bakery, podcasting, speaking, right? Okay. So, but bigmoneyspeaker.com, or you can reach me through Instagram or on Facebook. I'm very active, and also LinkedIn. And then I have a new website coming out where I'm writing my big book right now, where I'm taking my seminar used to be 4 days, and I would teach like 12, 14 hours a day. And it was my best stuff that I would teach, all these ninja marketing things like this. And I literally said, how can I leave a legacy and help as many people around the world as possible who would never come to a seminar? I don't even do my seminars anymore. I retired them in 2017. Right. And I thought, well, put it in a book, because everybody talks about a book. Think and Grow Rich book. The Bible is a book, right? I mean, go on and on and on and on, right? And so I'm like, so I've been taking my amazing 4-day training, the best stuff I have, and putting it into this book that's like 280 pages of real ninja, no BS content. And so I thought, well, how can I help as many people as possible? I'm literally just giving it away for free. You don't need a credit card. This isn't a bait and switch, hey, pay $7.95 and pay for shipping and you get the book. No, it is, all you got to do is you'll go to the website, you'll put your name and email in, and you'll get the digital version absolutely for free. Don't need a credit card or anything. And that website is going to be, which is coming out next month, www.freespeakerbook.com. Free, F-R-E-E, speakerbook.com. And this is my love letter to the world about leaving a legacy. And hopefully that all I ask is that you read it, use the information, because it will change your life.
Absolutely. I can vouch for that already before launching. I spent 2 hours in that round table, and man, the value that you provided, I have my full notes, literally I was taking pictures, writing what you were saying. I can imagine what will be in that book. So I'm going to be buying that and going to be dropping that link in the show notes down there so that people can take.
I appreciate it, buddy. I'm grateful to have met you, man. And, just think about it. If I didn't take that path, back 21 years ago when I got that fax from this guy who I thought was, who is this guy? We wouldn't be here today. And I'm really grateful for knowing you. I'm grateful for relationships and the impact you're having. And thank you for having me on and allowing me to share some info with your great people.
Absolutely, it's an honor for me to get connected with people like you, man. That's it's something I feel blessed and humbled about. So thank you so much, James, for coming on, giving your time. All the people who were listening, watching us, will be coming up with another episode very soon. Till then, take care. Bye.
Take care, everybody.